Heaven has just locked your scrolling in this very moment. Chosen one, do not touch the screen. Do not swipe away. Do not let darkness steal the message God allowed to appear before your eyes tonight. This is not an ordinary video. And this is not cheap motivation passing through your feed. This is an urgent summons sent directly into the silent room of your life, into the exact season where you have been exhausted from being hidden, drained from building in the dark, and wounded from watching other people be recognized while the gift God placed inside you remained buried beneath the dust of being overlooked. Listen closely, because the enemy is hissing in desperation. He has thrown sleepiness, doubt, noise, pointless distractions, meaningless messages, and cold thoughts into your mind, whispering, "Skip this. This is not for you." But that is a lie from hell. The very reason he wants you to leave is because this word belongs to you. The very reason he wants you distracted is because your name is about to step out of the forgotten place. Lately, you have felt something approaching. Haven't you? A strange heaviness in your chest. A holy pressure you could not explain. A feeling as if the old walls around your life are beginning to crack. Do not call it anxiety. Do not call it imagination. That is the first sound of your public season drawing near. God did not forge you in secret so you could die in secret. He did not let you cry through night after night, rise after every rejection, and keep going when nobody clapped, just for your gift to stay buried in a small corner forever. No, the covering is being torn open. The people who failed to see you will be forced to look again. The doors that slammed in your face will begin to tremble before the authority of the one who called your name. But do not leave now, because the next part will reveal the real reason God hid you for so long before bringing you before the world. If this word is striking your spirit, write in the comments right now, "I heard the call." Hit the like button as a seal of faith over this message. Subscribe to this channel immediately if you are ready to keep walking under divine confirmation and not miss the next instruction heaven releases for your life. And share this with another chosen one who has been building in silence, because this may be the exact confirmation they were praying for in secret. Now hear this with your whole spirit. Chosen one, you are about to be known far beyond the place where they tried to limit you. Not just by the people in your neighborhood, not just by the ones who once ignored you in the rooms you prayed to be accepted in, not just by the small circle that thought they had already measured your value and decided how far you could go. No, what God is about to do through your name, your gift, your voice, your work, and your obedience is going to travel farther than your own feet have ever walked. The same people who thought your silence meant nothing was happening are going to be shocked when heaven pulls back the curtain and reveals that you were not buried. You were being prepared. You were not forgotten. You were being covered. You were not delayed. You were being strengthened for a platform that weak preparation could never survive. This is why the warfare around your confidence has been so violent. This is why the enemy attacked your consistency, your focus, your sleep, your relationships, your finances, and even your belief in yourself. He was not fighting the version of you that people can see right now. He was fighting the version of you that is about to be revealed. He saw the reach before they did. He saw the influence before your family did. He saw the lives that would be touched before the numbers ever proved it. And that is why he tried to make you quit while everything still looked small. But the decree over your life is stronger than the doubt in your mind. God did not place a public anointing inside of you for it to rot in private shame. He did not give you a message that can heal strangers just so you would keep it locked behind fear. He did not let you survive rejection, betrayal, isolation, and years of being misunderstood just so you could shrink at the very edge of your unveiling. The room you are in right now is not the final room. The audience you see right now is not the full audience. The few people who failed to recognize you are not the final witnesses of your life. There are names you have never met, cities you have never entered, nations you have never touched, and souls you have never seen that are already being positioned to encounter what God has been building in you. So do not mock the small beginning. Do not curse the quiet season. Do not call yourself invisible just because heaven has not opened the curtain yet. The curtain is moving. The hidden season is trembling. The private oil is about to become public fire. If your spirit receives this, write in the comments, "My gift will not stay hidden." Look back for a moment at the years nobody celebrated. Not the version of the story people will tell later when everything looks glorious. Not the polished testimony they will repeat after your name has already traveled farther than they ever expected. But the real years, the nights when you sat with tired eyes and a heavy spirit, doing the work anyway. The mornings when you woke up with no proof that anything was changing, yet something inside you still refused to let the dream die. The days when your hands kept building while your heart was bleeding. The seasons when you prayed, created, served, learned, practiced, failed, started over, and still had almost nothing visible to show for it. That hidden place was not empty. It was not wasted time. It was not heaven ignoring you. It was the workshop of God. It was the field behind the house where kings are trained before crowns are revealed. Do you remember David before the palace knew his name? Before the giant fell? Before the songs were sung about him? David was in the field with sheep. His own family did not even call him into the room when the prophet Samuel arrived. Imagine that pain. A holy moment happening in your own house, and nobody thinks to bring you in. The oil is ready. The prophet is standing there. Heaven is searching for the chosen one, and the people closest to you leave you outside. But God did not forget the one in the field. God did not ask the room who looked qualified. God asked for the one they overlooked. And when David walked in, the atmosphere had to obey what heaven had already decided. That is why your hidden season matters. You thought you were being left out, but God was keeping you away from premature applause. You thought nobody noticed your discipline, but heaven recorded every quiet act of obedience. You thought the silence meant rejection, but the silence was building a weight inside you that public attention could not crush. Some people want the platform without the field. They want the crown without the lonely obedience. They want the door to open before their character can survive what waits behind it. But not you. God had to train your hands when nobody was watching. He had to teach you how to keep going without applause, how to stand after disappointment, how to keep your heart clean when people misunderstood you, how to carry a gift without begging blind people to recognize it. This is why the enemy tried so hard to make you ashamed of your slow season. He wanted you to look at small numbers, closed doors, quiet rooms, and delayed answers. Then call yourself forgotten. But heaven calls it preparation. Heaven calls it oil. Heaven calls it the field before the throne. And do not miss this, David did not become chosen when people noticed him. He was already chosen when they ignored him. In the same way, your value is not beginning when the world finally sees you. Your value was sealed in the hidden place, when you kept obeying with no audience, no applause, no guarantee, and no human confirmation. Stay here, because the next layer is going to expose why your isolation was not punishment, but divine separation. And if you know those unseen years did not destroy you but trained you, write in the comments, "The field was not for nothing." Now let the sword of truth cut through the lie that has been tormenting you for years. You were not isolated because something was wrong with you. You were isolated because something holy was being protected in you. The enemy wanted you to interpret the quiet as rejection, the distance as abandonment, the empty rooms as proof that nobody wanted you. Nobody saw you. Nobody would ever understand what you carry. But heaven has a completely different name for the season you survived. Heaven calls it separation. Heaven calls it consecration. Heaven calls it the locked room where God guards the oil before he pours it in public. Think about how many times you tried to fit into places that bruised your spirit. You forced yourself to laugh at conversations that felt empty. You lowered your voice around people who could only love the version of you that stayed convenient. You made yourself smaller in rooms where your assignment was silently suffocating, and every time you walked away feeling strange, heavy, unseen, and out of place. You blamed yourself. You asked, "Why can't I just be normal? Why can't I connect like everyone else? Why do I always feel like I am standing outside the glass, watching a world I cannot enter?" But listen closely. Chosen one, the glass, was not there to shame you. It was there to shield you. God was not trying to make you lonely. He was trying to keep your soul from being contaminated by rooms that would have celebrated your weakness but feared your calling. There are environments that can clap for your pain but panic at your power. There are people who can handle you broken, but cannot handle you anointed. There are tables that will welcome your wounded version, but reject the healed version that no longer begs for crumbs. That is why the separation had to happen. Not because God is cruel, not because heaven forgot your address, but because the hand of God was pulling you out before the wrong crowd could train you to betray your own assignment. A seed cannot become a tree if it keeps begging to stay in the hand that refuses to plant it. A vessel cannot carry fresh oil if it remains filled with old bitterness, old noise, old loyalties, and old chains. God had to empty the room around you so he could finally speak without interruption. He had to let certain phones stop ringing. He had to let certain invitations disappear. He had to let certain people grow cold. Not to break your heart, but to break your dependence on human approval. And yes, it hurt. It felt like being buried. It felt like being forgotten behind a locked door. It felt like watching everyone else move forward while you were trapped in a hidden wilderness with nothing but your prayers, your tears, and the small flame that refused to die. But hidden wildernesses are where God builds voices that cannot be bought. Secret places are where he forms people who will not collapse when the crowd finally turns its eyes toward them. You were not being punished in that silence. You were being stripped of every false covering, every borrowed identity, every desperate need to be understood by people who did not have the spiritual capacity to walk with you into your next season. So stop mourning the doors God locked. Stop chasing the hands he removed. Stop calling divine protection loss. The very separation you cried over is the proof that God refused to let the wrong environment bury what he is about to reveal through you. And do not move away from this message now, because the next part will expose why certain people had to leave before the right ones could find you. If this word is breaking the lie of rejection off your life, write in the comments, "Set me apart, Lord," like this message as a seal over your separation. Subscribe if you are ready to keep receiving the confirmations heaven sends. And stay with me, because the people who could not walk with your next level are about to be explained. There are people who could only walk with the version of you that was still bleeding. Sit with that for a second, because this truth is going to sting before it sets you free. Some of them did not hate you. Some of them did not wake up every morning planning to destroy you. Some of them even said they loved you, but their love had a ceiling. Their comfort with you had a limit. They could hold conversations with your wounded self, your confused self, your self-doubting self, your version that kept apologizing for needing room to breathe. But the moment God began lifting your head, the moment your voice started coming back, the moment you stopped begging for crumbs from tables where you were never honored, something in them became uncomfortable. That is why the distance started. That is why the messages slowed down. That is why certain people who once needed constant access to you suddenly acted cold when you began needing access to God more than access to them. Do not misread this season. Everyone leaving is not a tragedy. Some departures are not attacks. They are heaven cleaning the room before the appointed guests arrive. There are people who cannot enter your next season because they are still attached to the version of you that God has already buried. They remember you small. They remember you available. They remember you explaining yourself. Over-giving. Over-apologizing. Running after peace while losing pieces of your own soul. And now that you are standing straighter, now that your eyes are clearer, now that the oil on your life is no longer hidden under shame, they do not know where to place you. Let them wonder. Let them step back. Let them be confused by the strength they did not help build. God is not asking you to drag old witnesses into a new courtroom. He is preparing people who can recognize the evidence of His hand on your life without needing you to beg them to believe. There are divine connections being arranged even now. People who will not be intimidated by your growth. People who will not secretly mourn your freedom. People who will look at what you built in the dark and say, "I understand why God kept you hidden." These are not casual connections. These are door openers, burden lifters, prayer coverers, builders, voices that confirm what God already whispered to you in secret. But they cannot enter while you are still chained to the approval of those who only loved your brokenness. So, release the guilt. Release the need to explain. Release the fantasy that everyone who started with you is assigned to finish with you. Abraham had to leave familiar ground before the promise could unfold. Ruth had to walk away from one country to step into the lineage of kings. Your next season requires movement. And movement always exposes who is truly assigned. Do not chase what God is removing. Do not reopen doors heaven closed with mercy. The table ahead is too sacred for hands that mocked your hunger. Now we must talk about Joseph, because his life carries the exact pattern you are walking through right now. Joseph was not rejected because he had no destiny. He was rejected because his destiny made small hearts uncomfortable. His brothers saw the coat, heard the dream, felt the favor, and instead of celebrating what God had marked, they attacked what they could not control. They threw him into a pit. They sold him into slavery. They ripped him away from everything familiar. And for a season, it looked as if the dream had died in the dust. But listen carefully. Chosen one, the pit was not strong enough to cancel the promise. The betrayal was not powerful enough to erase the word God had spoken. The prison was not deep enough to bury the gift. Joseph's journey looked like a demotion to human eyes. But in the hands of God, every painful step was transportation toward the palace. The people who betrayed him thought they were removing him. They were actually moving him. The ones who pushed him down unknowingly pushed him closer to the room where his gift would be needed by a nation. That is why you cannot keep measuring your life by what it looks like right now. You may feel overlooked. You may feel delayed. You may feel like people took your kindness, misunderstood your calling, and left you in places you never deserved. But heaven has not lost track of you. God knows how to find His chosen one in a pit. He knows how to find His chosen one in a prison. He knows how to bring the forgotten person into the room where kings must listen. In Genesis, Joseph stood before Pharaoh not because he fought his way into the palace, but because the gift God placed in him became the answer to a problem no one else could solve. That is what is about to happen in your life. The very thing people ignored in you will become the very thing someone important needs. The wisdom you gained in pain, the strength you built in silence, the discernment you developed through betrayal, the gift you kept carrying when nobody clapped, all of it is being prepared for an appointed room. Do not curse your pit. Do not worship your prison. Do not think delay means denial. Joseph went from forgotten to necessary, from buried to summoned, from mocked to positioned. And when God calls your name, no locked door, jealous relative, false accusation, or hidden season can stop your arrival. If this speaks to your spirit, write, "My pit is not my end." There is a sacred pattern heaven uses before he allows a hidden person to become a public voice. And most people miss it because they are addicted to noise. They think breakthrough begins when the crowd finally claps. They think arrival begins when the door opens, when the name spreads, when strangers begin repeating what God placed inside them. But no, chosen one. Breakthrough begins in the hour when nobody is watching and you still choose to obey. It begins when your hands are tired, your heart is bruised, the numbers are small, the room is quiet, and yet you still return to the assignment like a priest returning to the altar. This is the hidden faithfulness method, not a trend, not a trick, not a performance for people who need to see your progress before they believe you have one. It is the brutal, holy discipline of building while buried. It is the decision to keep your lamp burning when no one asks for its light. It is praying over the gift before the gift has a platform. It is serving with excellence before the world knows your name. It is refusing to dig up the seed every morning just to see whether it has grown fast enough to satisfy your fear. Listen, because this is where many chosen ones lose the battle. They expose the vision too early. They run to explain what God whispered. They hand sacred instructions to people whose only gift is suspicion. And then they wonder why the fire feels weaker. Some things do not die because the devil defeated them. Some things die because they were uncovered before their roots were strong. Keep your assignment covered. Keep your obedience sharp. Keep your hands on the work. If God has only given you one person to reach today, reach that one person as if heaven placed a nation inside their healing. That is how public impact is born. It starts with private faithfulness so deep that delay cannot poison it. Look at Nick Vujicic. What the world could have called limitation became a living testimony. What could have been hidden in shame became a voice that reached people far beyond one room, one city, one country. Pain did not get the final word because faithfulness kept speaking. That is what God is doing with you. The thing you thought disqualified you may become the very doorway through which your message travels. So do not wait for the crowd to become faithful. Be faithful until the crowd has no choice but to witness what God was building in secret. If this word is burning in you, write, "I will build hidden." Like this as a seal over your obedience. Subscribe for the next instruction. And stay close. Because the next revelation will show you why silence is not fear, it is divine covering. Now hold this close. Because the next instruction will protect what God is building in you. Stop announcing what is still being formed. Silence is not fear. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not you hiding because you doubt yourself. Silence, in this season, is divine covering. There are things heaven is growing in you that cannot survive the hands of people who love to touch what they were never assigned to guard. Do not keep opening the door of your assignment to every curious voice. Do not keep placing holy instructions on the table for people who only know how to dissect, question, mock, or drain them. A seed does not become strong because it is constantly exposed. It becomes strong because it is buried long enough for roots to take hold. And that is what God is doing with you right now. He is not asking you to disappear. He is teaching you how to be covered until the weight of your calling can stand in the open without collapsing under attention. Some of you have been tempted to prove that something is happening. You want to post the plan, explain the process, defend the delay, show evidence that you are not wasting your life. But listen, the people who need proof before they respect your obedience are not qualified to judge your process. Let them wonder. Let them misunderstand the quiet. Let them think nothing is happening. Because while they are guessing, God is strengthening the roots beneath the soil. The wrong audience will always pressure you to reveal too early. The right season will reveal you without begging. Do not leak your oil to satisfy people who are not carrying your assignment. Do not trade divine covering for premature applause. Keep praying. Keep building. Keep studying. Keep creating. Keep serving the one person in front of you. Keep sharpening the gift behind the closed door. When heaven opens the curtain, you will not need to explain the silence. The fruit will speak. If this word is guarding your spirit, write in the comments, "Cover my assignment." Like this message as a seal over your hidden work. Subscribe so you do not miss the next instruction. And stay with me, because the next part will expose the final test before public elevation, the jealousy that tries to make you shrink. Now pay attention, because this is the final test. Many chosen ones fail. Right before elevation, the test of other people's reaction to your light. Not everyone who smiled at your struggle will survive the sight of your rising. Not everyone who prayed for you in your pit will celebrate you in your palace. Some people were comfortable when you were wounded because your pain made them feel useful. Some people loved you when you were unsure because your uncertainty kept them feeling above you. But the moment your shoulders straighten, the moment your voice returns, the moment your gift begins to carry weight, something hidden in them starts to shake. And this is where you must be sober. Jealousy will not always arrive screaming. Sometimes it comes dressed as concern. Sometimes it sounds like, "Are you sure?" Sometimes it hides inside a joke that cuts a little too deep. Sometimes it is a cold silence after you share good news. Sometimes it is the strange heaviness you feel after leaving a conversation with someone who says they support you, but somehow leaves your spirit smaller than before. Do not ignore that. God is sharpening your discernment because public elevation requires private boundaries. You cannot carry a worldwide assignment while letting small-minded voices stab holes in your confidence every night. You cannot step into the room God prepared while still handing the keys of your courage to people who secretly benefit from your hesitation. And hear this clearly, you are not called to hate them. You are not called to expose them. You are not called to fight every jealous glance or answer every hidden insult. The battle is too sacred for that. Your assignment is to keep walking. Let God handle the hearts that cannot handle your growth. Let heaven separate the genuine from the counterfeit. Let the fruit of your obedience answer louder than your mouth ever could. The enemy wants you distracted by people's reactions, so you will lower your light to make them comfortable. Refuse it. Do not shrink because someone else is grieving the version of you they could control. Do not apologize because God is lifting what they ignored. Do not dim the lamp just because certain eyes prefer darkness. The same God who hid you will also defend you when he reveals you. So guard your peace. Watch who drains you. Watch who celebrates you only when you are beneath them. Watch who disappears when your breakthrough starts breathing. And stay close now, because the final word is coming. The light God placed in you is about to stand where it can no longer be hidden. If this word is breaking fear off your spirit, write in the comments, "I will not shrink." Like this as a seal over your courage. Subscribe for the final confirmation, and share this with another chosen one who needs to stop hiding their light. Chosen one, the light God placed inside you is not going back under a covering. The season of being hidden, misread, delayed, and treated like you were ordinary is losing its grip. Heaven did not carry you through the field, the pit, the prison, the lonely room, the silent nights, and the jealous eyes, just to let your story end in obscurity. No, there is an appointed hour when what God has been protecting can no longer remain unseen. Jesus said that a city set on a hill cannot be hidden. A lamp is not lit to be buried under a basket, but to be placed where it gives light to the house. Do you understand what that means for you? Your light was never the problem. The wrong room was the problem. The wrong eyes were the problem. The wrong season was the problem. But the appointed season is changing everything. The gift they ignored will begin to speak. The voice they dismissed will begin to travel. The work you built with trembling hands and tired eyes will begin to reach people whose names you do not know, in places your feet have never touched. And when it happens, do not be shocked when they call it sudden. It was not sudden. It was every tear you swallowed, every prayer you whispered when nobody answered, every time you kept serving when your own heart needed strength, every rejection that purified you, every closed door that protected you, every quiet act of obedience that heaven recorded when humans saw nothing. The world may meet you in one moment, but God has been forming you for years. So lift your head. Stop apologizing for the size of what you carry. Stop asking permission from people who needed you small. Stop trying to explain the oil to those who only respected the empty vessel. Your name is not rising because you chased attention. Your name is rising because God is ready to use what He hid. The same hand that covered you will reveal you. The same God who trained you in secret will place you where your light can serve many. This is not vanity. This is assignment. This is not pride. This is obedience. If this word belongs to you, write in the comments, "Let my light stand." Like this message as a seal of faith over your public season. Subscribe so you do not miss the next instruction heaven releases. And share this with another chosen one who has been hidden long enough. Your silence was not wasted. Your light is being lifted, and the world is about to know what God has been building in you.